Okay, everyone. This is Splinter Channel. I have another channel in which I do tech content. But in this channel, we're going to be covering really controversial stuff like religion, politics, other things like things that are key to people's values. I made comments on this stuff once in a while on the other channel, but I was honestly trying desperately to stay away from it because the honest truth is all sides have merit in this, and you're talking about things that have answers you can only really take on faith, especially in regards to religion. At the end of the day, there's no empirical evidence one way or the other as to which religion's right, or even if there is a God, or even if there isn't a God. So, at the end of the day, it's a matter of faith. It's something that's part of someone's core inner self. I try not to get on topics that you can't do any good on. And at the end of the day, I'm not 100% sure any good. In fact, I'm real hesitant if to any good whatsoever will come out of this channel. I know this channel is going to piss off a bunch of people. It's my hope that some people get that I'm not trying to tell them to believe a certain way. I'm more interested in telling them what other people believe so that they can understand them. It's like, what was the last straw for me is that in the I should explain another thing. I'm not a loyalist. I'm a patriot. My loyalties lie to the idea that the United States of America is a land of tolerance. That it is a place where it doesn't matter what religion you are, what race you are, how much money you have, what sexual orientation you are. None of this stuff matters. We're all equal. We all have the same rights under the law. We all have the same liberties. And for that to work, we all have to tolerate each other. We don't have to agree. As a matter of fact, I think it's a horrible world if everybody agrees, because if everybody thinks the same, what's the point in having so many people? You don't find new solutions to problems and other stuff. As I look around as of late, that's not the United States of America I see. Now, I'm sure I just pissed a lot of people off with that statement. So like, oh, here's somebody who hates the United States of America. No. I want the United States of America to be what it's capable of being. I want us to embrace our diversity and our strength, and I want us to grow that diversity and strength. We can't do that if we hate one another. We can't do that if we're judging one another. We can't do that if we're spending all our energy trying to make everyone like everybody else. What was the last straw for me that made me stop keeping my mouth shut, even though I know I'm going to offend more people than I'm going to help? Hopefully, enough people get that the intent here is to make us better understand each other, and I don't get nothing but hate responses back. But I acknowledge that that may be the possibility. That's not going to shut me up. The last straw for me was the fact that in this country, the United States of America, there is a group of people who think it's God's will that Islam is the devil, and that the best way to commemorate September 11th is to burn Qur'ans. I don't know where to start there. Now, they have the right to do it. The First Amendment doesn't say it had to be a good idea. It just protects your right to do it. And they're not really hurting anyone. They're just attacking a whole culture they don't understand. Which is part of what we're going to start doing here. In the coming weeks, we're going to go over Islam. We're going to explain what Islam is and what Muslims believe. Because this is probably one of the most misunderstood religions in the U.S. right now. It's not the only one. There's a whole plethora of religions and philosophical paths that the United States does not understand nor comprehend because it is a largely Christian nation. And the general belief of most Americans is that Christianity is good, and that those who aren't Christian, there's something wrong with them. I'm not your atypical person getting off on this tangent. I'm not an atheist. I'm not a Muslim. I'm no extremist religious group whatsoever. I don't know what the hell I am. I have yet to find a path that fully encompasses me. What pisses me off about this bullshit is it's just hate. Hate's one of the few things that brings out hate in me. The same hate that has these Christians burning a Koran is the same hate that led to people flying planes into buildings. It's the same hate that led to destroying the Native American culture and the Aborigine culture and creating the Holocaust. It's the same hate on both sides, Christians and Muslims, that has led to most of the unresolved conflicts of the 20th century, continuing into the 21st century. Extremists interpret verses to say hate one another. I'm not qualified to say whether or not that's God's will or not. All I can say is it's not a path I agree with. Because of the verses in this book, and the way they are interpreted to justify attacking and hating whole groups of people in other cultures, is the reason I'm not a Christian. I was raised to be a Christian, but when I realized that that's what some Christians are, and that this book is used to justify those acts on this planet, I realized right then and there I couldn't be a Christian, because I cannot follow those interpretations of those verses. The day I realized I wasn't a Christian, I started studying every path on the planet I could get my hands on. And in every single one of them, I found something of value to me. But I have yet to find one that's all-encompassing to me, and a path I can truly, purely follow. I acknowledge that the path for this arrogance of mine, as far as many religions on the planet are concerned, is hell eternal. That when this corporeal form fails, I'll go to hell. I acknowledge that that's a possibility. Like I said, I'm not justified to say who's right, and I'm not qualified. All I can tell you is what the various paths are, as they have been explained and taught to me. And that's what's going to happen in the coming weeks. I'm going to start with Islam, because I think the United States of America really needs an education as to what the ideals of Islam is. A really scary thing about the fact that Muslims hate Christians and Christians hate Muslims is the fact that, for all intents and purposes, they're basically the same religion. Now, I realize I just offended almost every single person watching this video. Like I said, I'm not going to walk on eggshells. And I'm probably offending a lot of people. But the reality is, both these religions fundamentally say follow God. Both of them acknowledge Jesus. Now, they disagree on who Jesus was and what Jesus' life was. Even the details of what happened to Jesus in his life. But both have a very high respect for Christ. Both just don't call him Christ, which is a funny thing to get into. We'll get into in the coming weeks. We're not getting anything of substance today. We're just telling y'all what's going to be going on here. However, there's some pretty big philosophical disagreements between these two religions. So I understand why they fight each other. And, you know, it's really funny because they both have verses that say respect and tolerance. But somehow we get to holy wars. And by the way, jihad does not mean holy war. It's one of the things we'll get into in the coming weeks. We'll also get into the 72 virgins, which isn't what you think it is. That comes from an obscure passage. We'll explain that. We'll go into all this other stuff. My initial reaction when I found out Christians were going to be burning Qur'ans was I had half a mind during the course of this video to take this book, take a match, set it on fire, and say anybody who that offends, maybe you should think twice about attacking another culture just because they have a philosophical disagreement. Because burning this book to people who follow it is just as offensive to burning the Quran is to a Muslim. Now, Christian extremists would argue, well, the Bible is God's one true book. This is God's one true book. Then why do we have more than one version of this book? Oh, well, all those other books are false. That's why I'm not telling you what version of the Bible this is. By the way, I have them all. And it's the same thing on the other side. Now, the two sides being argued here, people are completely missing the point. A, they have the right to burn those books. But I've never seen any good coming out of book burnings. To me, Christians burning Qur'ans is no different than Nazis burning all the Jewish books. These people are evil. We hate them. Them be damned. Oh, filthy, crushing people. It's no different. It's the same hate. And this hate is what I have a problem with. I have yet to find a single path on the planet that's fully free of it. There's an arrogance and an underlying tone that can very quickly turn into that hate in every single path I've studied. So, and ultimately, it is my belief that that hate will tear this world apart. It is only a matter of time. We either learn to turn away from that hate, or we sit back and watch this planet tear itself apart. Who's going to fire the first volley and who's going to fire the last volley? I'm not qualified to say. It may be further forks to the religions that don't even exist today. But it is that hate that will tear this world apart. And the only way I see understanding and avoiding that Armageddon to end the world, basically an apocalypse, is if we learn to tolerate each other. Now, there's some people who look forward to the Holocaust, not the Holocaust, to the rapture and Armageddon and all this other shit, because they believe they are the chosen. Personally, I'd like to see that event never come to pass. If that event comes to pass, it will be of God. It will be of man's making, because we have free will. We have the ability to choose not to line those dominoes up. I just don't think we will. I'm convinced. I have so little faith in humanity at this point that I am convinced that we can't turn back at this point. And that saddens me. But I hope I'm wrong. Which is, why we're going to start explaining our various different points of view. And I'm starting with Islam. I'm going to start getting into details next week, because less than 1% of Americans are Islam. The United States is largely a Christian nation. And the understanding of Islam and Muslims that most Americans have is these people are declaring jihads on everyone, which doesn't mean holy war, by the way. And they hate us, and they're going to tear us apart. And it's funny, because the Quran says Christians and Jews can get into paradise too. So it makes you wonder why some Muslims hate Christians. Anyways, just some prerequisites. Y'all now know what this channel is going to be. I'm going to stop it off there because I'm up in time, and we will get onto this next week. Bye for now, all.